Hey Gear Seekers, I'm Nick. If you remember a little while ago, we did a video with the P600S from Phanteks. Actually, we've done a lot of videos with the P600S, and one of the last notes that I had on the case was that it was one of my favorite cases ever made. It seems as though Phanteks was listening to that and made an even better case, the P500A. It shares the same chassis as the P600A and the Evolv X, except now it's got a mesh front. So let's do what we usually do and do a build in it and see if anything's changed. As usual with these builds, ladies and gents, they're basically designed to inspire you so you can build beautiful PCs of your own. Now this video is a little bit on the reviewy side, although I'm not going to get into things like acoustics and whatnot, considering that these new Phanteks fans that come with this case are pretty quiet. So I'm going to stop talking, we're going to do a build, and then we're going to chat about the whole system and this brand new case from Phanteks. Spoiler alert, it's like old brand new. Anyway, let's build. All right, ladies and gents, it's your favorite part of the video. People got upset because I didn't do the peel on the last build video, so I decided it was time to visit our friends once again over at Peel Corp and, yeah, do a peel. Are you ready, Claire?
Yeah.
Is everybody ready? This is just to make you guys happy because this is what you asked for, so it's time. You ready? Let's do it. Well, ain't that a little bit fancy? All right, I guess we should keep going, right? Claire?
Yeah.
Keep going? Okay, keep going.
Why can't you hide when the sun is dark? It's hard to find what to know where you are. Why can't you hide when the sun is dark? The sun is dark. Why can't you hide when the sun is dark? It's hard to find what to know where you are. Why can't you hide when the sun is dark? The sun is dark. Why can't you hide when the sun is dark? It's hard to find what to know where you are. Why can't you hide when the sun is dark? The sun is dark.
All right, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed the build in this brand new case, the Phanteks P500A, but let's chat about those parts before we crack on. The CPU that we went with is the Intel Core i9 10900KF. It's a 10-core, 20-threaded CPU. The difference between this one and the K SKU is it doesn't have integrated graphics. Other than that, it's exactly the same chip. For the motherboard, we went with something a little bit overkill, a little bit crazy. We went with the Gigabyte Z490 AORUS XTREME. Now, the reason why we wanted to use a board like this is because it's eATX/XLATX, and I wanted to see if I could make a board like this fit because I'll potentially be using this for my personal editing PC rig, but I'll tell you why a little bit later on in the video. For the RAM, we did something quite exceptional. Gigabyte actually sent over a kit of some new memory. It's a 16 gig kit of 4800 megahertz DDR4 RAM. Now, the reason why you'd want to use something like this is if you were using memory intense applications that require extra speed. So there are like a few things I can think of that come to mind with this, and the biggest thing is PUBG. PUBG is highly reliant on RAM speed, and memory like this would just make the game run a whole lot smoother. The only problem here is it's CL19, so the latency is a little bit higher than other RAM, but I have a bunch of tests that we did with this RAM that we're going to chuck in this video as well, so you can see why you would use memory like this. For the GPU, we went with the AORUS Extreme 2080 Ti. The reason why I chose this GPU is because we've got a 10900KF. What else would you put with it, right? There's like no substitute. You got 4800 megahertz memory, you got a 10900KF and a 2080 Ti. Sounds like the most OP gaming PC ever. To cool the 10900KF, we went with the AORUS 360 liquid cooler. As you can tell, this build's pretty Gigabyte and pretty AORUS. I like to do that. You guys know that already. If I'm using like an AORUS board, I just want to use AORUS everything else or Gigabyte everything else, and I just like to keep everything with the same theme. For storage, we went with the Seagate FireCuda 520. The reason why I decided to use this is because I've got it and it was available, and yeah, there's no real reason why I chose that for storage. It was just available to me at the time. The power supply is the Phanteks Revolt X. It's a 1000 watt power supply. It's actually, you can use it for dual systems. We have used it in the past for a dual system build. I'll put that in the top right hand corner if you guys want to check that out in your own time. It's a cool dual system streaming PC that we did a little while ago, and yeah, we used this exact power supply, and we actually did that in the P500S as well. And that's kind of leading us into the next thing. Let's talk about the P500A. At first glance, when you look at this case, you'll notice that it is exactly the same internally as the Evolv X and the P600S. The main thing that stands out when you look at this case for the first time between this and the P600S is this has the RGB strip, and it's an addressable RGB strip that runs the length of the case. This is the same as the Evolv X. This also has that, but yeah, so it's kind of like a mix between those two cases. What the other stuff they've done here is they've changed the front to a complete mesh front panel. It's got 1 mil between each hole, so it is super free flowing. And as you're gonna see in the thermal testing as well, it is very, very impressive. It's almost like not having a front on your case at all. It's pretty fantastic. I can't lie, I really, really like this case. And you guys know how I feel about the P600S. That is one of the best cases ever, and they've upped the game with this because it is basically the same case except more airflow. They've also made the top panel a bit thinner, so it's not as thick, but it does have the same airflow on the top, and it's got a magnetic mesh filter on the top as well. And speaking of other similarities between this and the Evolv X as well, you can actually do dual systems in this as well. It does have the provisions and the cutout, so if you were to be doing like an ITX system up top, you'd have no problems getting that to work from the looks of it. And also it has the screw mounting holes on top of the case up here, rather than having on the removable rack that the other cases like the Evolv X and the P600S have. So other than that, it is literally identical. I'm pretty sure I can even fit this front panel on the P600S, which actually might be a cool test to try out, Claire. Maybe we could do that too. There are actually a few differences between the front panel on the P500A and the P600S. I've got a P600S front panel because obviously we still have one, but I'm going to show you the main differences here and why they're actually not interchangeable, although you probably could get it to work putting the P500 on the P600, but let's just show you the deal here. So obviously that's gonna pop off pretty easily, and you've got these holes here where the pegs line up for them to actually go in. The problem here is, the first thing you'll notice is the height difference. The pegs do line up. If you say were to mount it like that, it would go in, but yeah, it's not ideal. They do actually somewhat line up, but yeah, obviously this panel here is taller and it just won't go on. And if you were to try and put the P500A front panel on the P600S has all the I/O on the front, and it actually stops it from going on. However, you can remove all of that on the P600S, but then you don't have any front I/O. So yeah, there's also that too. Other than the top panel and the front panel, the P600S and the P500A are internally exactly the same. And this also goes for the Evolv X as well. Internally, they are the same cases. The glass hinge door is exactly the same. I have tested it. It does fit. It's exactly like, basically, this is the same case, except the airflow is way better. Although if you were to do a build with the P600S, don't get me wrong, it's a great case. You cannot use the top panel and the front panel, and the P600S actually kind of gives you options of making it silent and airflow based. I do like this case. I'm considering using it for a personal build. I don't know. I need to sleep on it first because there's a few more cases we're going to be covering this week as well, so I haven't decided yet. As for cable management, it's exactly the same as the Evolv X and the P600S as well. It's got all of the Velcro straps along the back side, which make it an absolute joy to cable manage. And this is one of the things that I really, really like about Phanteks cases. They really take this into account when they're designing their cases, and it makes it a joy to build in. Even lesser cases and the cheaper cases, like the P400A, all have Velcro and all that built into the case, which makes it an absolute pleasure to work with, and you're not pulling your hair out trying to get stuff to fit. And that's the other thing with this as well. The P600S has a swinging back panel. This has a screwed in back panel. However, the clearance for the cable management is, again, exactly the same. So yeah, they did an absolutely awesome job with this case, and I can't wait for you guys to actually get your hands on it as well. Phanteks, it's standard for them to knock it out at the park, and they've done it again. They've proved that they can do this over and over again. And this is not me being a Phanteks fanboy. That sounds funny, right, Claire? Phanteks fanboy.
Yeah.
This is not me fanning out on them at all. This is them legitimately continuing to listen to what people want and making excellent cases. Right, and that's the bottom line. And also, just to add to that as well, the front fans are the new fans from Phanteks. They're addressable RGB. It comes with 3 of these fans, and they're 140mm ARGB fans, or D-RGB as they call them. The rear fan that I added is just a Cooler Master fan. It's a 140mm ARGB fan. I don't have many like 140mm ARGB fans, so it's a little bit mismatched. I would have preferred it to be a bit more frosted, but yes, we can't, I don't know what the saying for that is, but yeah, I can't complain about it because I don't have any other options. But overall, again, I'm going to say this, the P500A, I'm going to call this early. Claire, are you ready for it?
Yep.
Are you ready?
Ready.
This is one of my favorite cases of all time, right next to the P600S, because they've used the exact same chassis, the same formula, and they've made it a lot more airflow friendly. All right, let's quickly take a look at the Phanteks Eclipse P500A Accessory Kit. This is pretty standard with most Phanteks cases. Let's take a quick look because some people are going to ask, so I might as well show you just some documentation and some additional upgrades and all that kind of stuff. Pretty standard, but it does come with some hard drive sleds, and this is the way Phanteks usually does this. They have hard drive sleds. These will go in the case, so you can put 3.5-inch drives in there, and you get like a little case full of all the screws and additional stuff for mounting. And this is actually for building the PC as well, but obviously because we've got so many screws from all other cases and everything, we never use screws that come with cases when we build. We like to just keep them separate. Inside the other hard drive sled, it's much more of the same thing. You've got a little mounting bracket for the riser cable if you were to do a vertical mounted GPU. It does not come with a riser cable. It also has a bunch of cable ties and some other GPU anti-sag bracket. It's got that as well. I didn't use that obviously because we have the AORUS one that comes with that other GPU, but as for accessories, that's all the additional stuff that comes with it. And yeah, not much more to talk about. As far as fan mounting is concerned as well, Phanteks makes those distro plates. You've probably seen us using them in some videos. You can actually fit the 120 or 140 distro plate at the back if you want to do custom water cooling. Up the front, I'm pretty sure I can fit a 420mm radiator if I provision for the radiator at the top for water cooling, but I'm not sure. I haven't test fitted it. I'm not even sure what Phanteks website says about this case and what actually fits, but just from eyeballing it, I reckon I could probably make it fit. Obviously you can put a 360 up the top as well. You can do 240, 280, whatever. Any of those sizes should fit, no problem. It's got a lot of options for doing custom water cooling as well. And that's one thing that I liked about the P500S as well. Although we never actually did a custom water cooled build with it. We did plan on doing it, but it just never happened. Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking about all this. We're gonna check out the benchmarks from this system, including the thermals, so you guys can get a better idea of how this system and this case performs airflow wise. We didn't do any acoustic testing, as I mentioned earlier on in the video, because I don't think it's too relevant with this case in particular, basically because it has sound deadening stuff throughout the whole case as well, which does make it quiet. Even the glass side panels have the rubber acoustic treatment on them, and these 140mm fans up the front, they are not loud at all. They're going full blast right now, so yeah, you can't even hear them. Anyway, benchmark time. Ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed this build in the brand new Phanteks P500A. I know this video is probably going on for quite a long time, but yeah, there was a lot to talk about. I will be building in this again, I suspect, doing something completely ridiculous. It's looking like this is probably going to end up being my personal rigs case, well, the editing PC that we edit all these videos on anyway. But yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And if you want to know what all the parts were in this build, I'll drop a PC part picker list down below in the description so you can have a little bit of a gander and see what we used in this system. And if you like the music you heard here, I make all the music. It's available over on our Patreon. If you want to support the channel, hit that join button down below or get early access to videos not like this one, because there is an embargo on this, so I can't release this early, and you can get early access to our other videos over on Floatplane. I'm your boy Nick with Gear Seekers. What do you reckon, Claire?
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Hell yeah.
You peak, we seek?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know how it is. And yeah, we'll catch you on the flip-flop. Is that what people say? On the flip-flop? Flip side. I'm getting old. I don't know how to say anything anymore. So just make it awkward?
Yeah, it's good.
I guess the intro and outro music is playing right now.